Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Mr.Night-Terror. In the shadows of the night, where darkness dances with fear, welcome to a world of chilling tales that will haunt your dreams and send shivers down your spine. Subscribe to my channel and join me as we embark on this haunting adventure together. But beware, once you enter this realm, there's no turning back. Our weekends had become a cherished tradition, a voyage into the world of garage sales, where forgotten treasures awaited their moment of rediscovery. Erin and I reveled in the thrill of the search, delving into dusty boxes and sifting through neglected items, each outing a potential opportunity to uncover hidden gems that could be transformed into profits. This time, our quest led us to a remote and obscure sale on the outskirts of town. It was an old farmhouse, with about a quarter-of-a-mile-long driveway, seemingly untouched by the passage of time. As we arrived there, we sifted through the haphazardly arranged tables and assorted relics. My attention was ensnared by a captivating sight. Tucked away in the dimly lit corner, an antique wine cabinet, resplendent with intricate carvings and weathered wood, held me in its thrall. Its aura radiated a seductive appeal, drawing me into its embrace. It had red candle wax bordering its crevices and a pungent smell to it. Erin's keen eye also fell upon the cabinet, and her excitement was evident. "Look at that wine cabinet, Lee," she exclaimed, her voice tinged with enthusiasm. "Isn't it an awesome find?" I nodded in agreement, my curiosity piqued. "Yeah, it's a pretty unique piece," I remarked, my fascination growing. With mutual intrigue, we approached the cabinet. The seller, an elderly woman whose eyes held the wisdom of ages, met our gaze with a knowing smile. She said, "Hi, folks. Welcome to my farm. I'm sorry if the items aren't arranged accordingly. I'm selling this old farm. I'm too old to tend to it myself anymore. It's been so hard to keep everything up since my husband passed away around 6 months ago. This old place is just too big for one person." We went on to talk about the wine cabinet, asking about why it had candle wax on it and what the carvings meant. But all she said was that it has been passed down from her grandmother, to her mother, then to her. Other than that, she said she didn't know much else about it. But she did caution that one should never open it under any circumstances, according to her mother. But Erin and I thought it would make it best a very resellable antique. So negotiations were made, and the old lady settled for $50, sealing our acquisition of the cabinet, which we transported to our car, its antique allure mingling with a sense of foreboding. The atmosphere within our home was imbued with an air of anticipation as we positioned the wine cabinet in the living room. We noticed there was something inside the box, so we disregarded the old lady's warning and chipped off the wax. The act of opening its time-worn doors held a sense of ceremony, as if we were embarking on a journey into the past. Inside, the walls bore strange inscriptions, intricate patterns etched in a language forgotten by the ages. We were both intrigued and dumbfounded by what was inside. Among the cabinet's contents lay an assortment of oddities: a lock of hair, desiccated bones, and an array of curious trinkets and crystals, each exuding a unique and unsettling energy. Erin's gaze was fixed on the weird collection, her fascination undiminished, while I grappled with a growing sense of disquiet. A connection to the cabinet tugged at my subconscious. Finding it pretty unsettling by what was inside, I said to Erin, "What if these items were from someone who was murdered? Why else would there be hair and bones inside? This is fucking creepy, Erin." "Lee, you need to chill. I'm sure it's probably from a deceased family member of hers, or maybe it's from a child of theirs that had died." She said, "Isn't it beautiful, though, regardless?" I said, "Yeah, it's beautiful, and very old. I'll just do my best to clean it up and try to get rid of the stench inside. Smells like something died in there. Maybe one of their children, perhaps." Erin responded with sarcasm, saying, "Haha, Lee, very funny." As I took the items out and started to clean it, I felt a strange sense of unease, almost like I was doing something illegal, something that was forbidden. It's very hard to explain, but almost as if it were something sacrilegious. I continued to clean it. I took my sander and managed to sand away the surface from the inside of the box, hoping that would help to get rid of the stained smell from within. I even coated the inside with some linseed oil. which seemed to help with the smell. But the next day brought with it subtle shifts in our home's ambiance. Shadows seemed to manifest in corners where light should have prevailed, and whispers of sound reverberated through the halls during the silent hours of night. I voiced my observations to Erin, who offered dismissive reassurances that the house was simply settling, or that my imagination was playing tricks on me. Yet the presence of these unseen phenomena was undeniable, a sensation that lingered at the periphery of my consciousness. As nights unfolded, sleep became a fragile commodity, my senses heightened by a persistent feeling of being observed and watched, a sensation that intensified each time I glanced at the wine cabinet. One evening, while engrossed in conversation with Erin, a flicker of movement caught my eye. Shadows danced along the walls, in my peripheral, seemingly sentient and synchronized in their graceful dance. I gestured toward the phenomenon, my voice tinged with unease. "Do you see that, Erin?" She regarded the shadows with a skeptical gaze, her brows furrowing. "It's just a shadow from the lampshade," she offered, though her tone betrayed a hint of uncertainty. I nodded in agreement. Maybe you're right, although the unsettling nature of the experience lingered within me. The shadows were more than mere tricks of light. They were a manifestation of something beyond our understanding, a presence that felt uneasy. It felt evil. The subtle undercurrent of unease continued to weave its way into our lives, its grip growing stronger with each passing day. While Erin's optimism provided a veneer of normalcy, I found myself increasingly drawn to the wine cabinet, a magnet pulling me toward its alluring depths. "Lee, are you all right?" Erin's voice broke through my reverie, concern etching lines on her face. I blinked, tearing my gaze away from the cabinet. "I'm fine, just lost in thought," I replied, though the truth was far more complex. As the days turned into weeks, my health began to decline. Nausea, fatigue, and dizzy spells became my constant companions, my body betraying me with each passing moment. Erin's worry deepened, and she implored me to go see a doctor. Reluctantly, I agreed, a sense of resignation settling within me. The doctor's diagnosis yielded no concrete answers, leaving me with more questions than answers. The doctor said it was probably just cabin fever. Being cooped up for too long can cause adverse effects, but if things continue to progress, or it gets worse, then we should run some blood tests, just to make sure it's nothing serious. After returning home, I shared the doctor's assessment with Erin, who regarded me with a mixture of relief and concern. "Lee, there has to be an explanation for what you're experiencing," she said, her voice gentle yet determined. I mustered a feeble smile, my gratitude for her unwavering support outweighing my own fears. "He just said it was more than likely cabin fever. Don't worry, though. He's probably right. I did feel better after leaving the house for a while. I feel better now after getting out," I reassured her. After her leaving me to my thoughts, I just wasn't sure that was the true diagnosis. I felt something evil in our home that Erin obviously didn't feel. With each passing day, the presence's hold on my well-being tightened, its grip growing increasingly oppressive. A sense of disconnection from reality settled within me, as if I were becoming entwined with the very darkness that had plagued our home. Erin's worry became palpable, her gaze lingering on me with a mix of compassion and helplessness. "Lee, you don't look well," she murmured one evening, her voice laced with concern. I offered a weak smile, attempting to downplay the severity of my condition. "It's just a passing phase, Erin. I'll be back to my old self soon enough." She wasn't convinced, and her eyes searched mine, seeking the truth beneath the facade I presented. "I can't stand seeing you like this," she confessed, her voice trembling with emotion. Unable to meet her gaze, I looked down, feeling the weight of guilt settle heavily upon me. "I'm doing my best to get better, Erin," I said, my words a solemn promise. About a month later, the presence's influence became more pronounced. A sense of malefic energy seemed to emanate from our home, its tendrils ensnaring me in an invisible embrace. I found myself unable to sleep, and my health just kept getting worse while inside the home. The days we left the house, I felt better and more like myself. But as soon as we got home, it didn't take long for the feelings of sickness and oppression to rear its ugly head. One evening, while staring into space, a voice, A mere whisper on the edge of perception seemed to beckon me from within. "Lee," it murmured, its words insidious and seductive. "Did you hear that?" I asked Erin, my voice hushed, the sensation of being watched intensifying. She regarded me with a mixture of concern and trepidation. "Hear what?" But the voice had retreated, leaving me with a sense of disorientation and a growing realization that the entity was attempting to establish a connection, to bridge the gap between its realm and mine. Time brought with it a gradual escalation of strange occurrences that seemed to weave a tapestry of the uncanny within the fabric of our lives. Shadows deepened in the corners of our home, their presence more pronounced, their shapes morphing into demonic forms that danced in a sinister waltz. Each night, as we settled into bed, knocks of threes were heard. I'm not what you would call a religious man, but I know the significance of knocks that come in threes. The knocks froze my blood. I could feel a demonic presence latching itself onto me. One night, around 2 a.m., I woke up to use the bathroom. As I left the restroom, walking down the hallway to my bedroom, I heard what sounded like footsteps sprinting towards me. It scared the absolute shit out of me. I turned on the hallway lights, just to see nothing. Nothing was there. Needless to say, sleep eluded me that night. The next morning, I awoke to an unsettling discovery. As I woke up, I could feel a sharp burning pain running down my back. I got up and went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror, only to be greeted by a series of fresh scratches etched down my back, as if some invisible force had marked me in the late hours of the night. "Lee, what happened to your back?" Erin's voice was laced with concern as she examined the marks, her fingers tracing the lines with a mix of bewilderment and unease. "I don't know," I replied, my voice tinged with a sense of helplessness. "I woke up like this." Erin's gaze met mine, her eyes reflecting a mixture of worry and determination. "We can't ignore this anymore, Lee. There's something happening to you. I'm getting pretty damn worried now." As the days went on, the presence became more palpable, its influence extending its icy fingers into every corner of our lives. Objects seemed to move of their own accord, sliding across tables and falling from shelves. The air was thick with a tension that seemed to vibrate with an otherworldly energy. One evening, as we sat together in the living room, the lights flickered and dimmed, casting sinister shadows across the walls. Erin's voice wavered as she spoke, a note of uncertainty in her words. "Have you noticed all the weird shit going on, Lee?" I nodded, my heart heavy with the weight of the unexplainable. "It's like something is trying to make its presence known, to communicate with us." Erin's eyes held a mixture of fear and determination. "We need to do something about this, Lee. We can't let whatever it is take over our lives." I told her, "I've noticed these things ever since we brought that damn wine cabinet home. Erin, that thing is cursed, I'm telling you. I can feel it in my bones. Don't you find it the least bit strange? Ever since we bought it and brought it inside our home, I have been sick. I have had nightmares. I've been distant. I've been seeing fleeting glimpses out of the corner of my eye. Hearing my name being called, the list just goes on." She reluctantly agreed. "I just don't believe in the supernatural, Lee. It just doesn't make sense." I said, "Well, it's about time you start, because it's here. Whether you believe it or not, it's here. Things are getting worse and more profound by each passing day." The next morning, I went online to research cursed objects. I found nothing relevant. Until I researched cursed wine cabinets. I found multiple articles that referred this cabinet to be a Dybbuk box. It is said that the box's purpose is to trap a demon known as a Dybbuk. The entity is known for attaching itself to its victims like a virus or parasite, slowly beating them down until they are too weak to resist possession. So I came to the conclusion that it was, in fact, a Dybbuk box, and I was too dumb to realize it sooner. But to my defense, I never heard of such a thing before. After doing more research, I found an article of a rabbi named Rabbi Cohen. The article stated that he has experience in dealing with Dybbuks and has successfully resealed them back into their respected containments. Erin and I decided it was time to reach out to him. He said he could meet us tomorrow afternoon. We were feeling hopeful about this meeting. Next afternoon, we entered the synagogue and looked around. There was a door that had a nameplate inscribed, Rabbi Rabbi Cohen. We knocked on the door, and were met with a heavy Jewish accent saying, "You may come in." After our introductions, we got right down to business. I went on to explain our story to him, how we managed to come across the box, what was inside, and all the strange, unexplainable events that took place ever since we brought that cursed box inside our home. He said, "Well, your first mistake was opening the box. By doing so, you unwittingly unleashed a very nasty evil into your lives. We are dealing with a demon called a Dybbuk, and they only grow stronger and stronger. They feed off fear and negativity." Rabbi Cohen explained, his voice laden with a solemn weight. I asked him, "What if we just pack up and leave?" He said that leaving wouldn't help, because it has obviously already attached itself to me. He said, "We must confront it before it gains more power over you." Together, that very afternoon, he met us at our home. From there, he took a walk around our house. He said he could feel an evil entity without a doubt. He asked to see the box, so I led him to it. He asked what was inside again, so I explained to him everything we found inside. And I said it was layered with red candle wax as well. Rabbi Cohen said that it sounded to him like something that would legitimately be inside a Dybbuk box. He started to walk around our home, reciting scriptures. He then blessed every room of our home. Afterwards, he opened his briefcase and pulled out a bunch of ritualistic items. He then started to initiate a series of rituals, each one a delicate dance between the mundane and the supernatural. Incantations filled the air, their words woven with ancient power, as we sought to banish the evil that had ensnared our lives. Yet even as we performed the rituals, the Dybbuk seemed to fight back, its presence growing more pronounced. Shadows danced with renewed fervor, and the pounding from inside the walls became an incessant chorus that echoed throughout our home. The entity was no longer content to remain hidden anymore, as its influence extended to Erin, who began experiencing cool gusts of wind and breath on her neck, and her hair being pulled, which totally freaked her out, by the way. "We can't let this continue," Erin said, her voice a mixture of determination and fear. "Please, Rabbi, we have to find a way to stop this." Suddenly, a deafening roar filled the air, an otherworldly sound that seemed to emanate from within the very walls themselves. The room felt like it quaked, and the ritual's power seemed to falter, as if the demon was on the brink of breaking free. With a final surge of energy, the ritual's crescendo reached a fever pitch, and the Dybbuk's resistance shattered. The home felt like the evil was dispelled, and the sinister aura was now gone. We were left in a silence that hung heavy with the weight of our victory. The presence had been pushed back, its grip loosened, and our home was finally free from its suffocating embrace. In the aftermath of our triumph, a sense of cautious optimism began to take root. The shadows that had once danced ominously had retreated, and the knocks and pounding had fallen silent. Erin's spirits lifted, and her laughter returned, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Yet, the Dybbuk's influence had not been fully vanquished. As I gazed upon the wine cabinet, a sinking feeling settled within me. It was as if the entity was biding its time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike once more. Everything seemed normal for about a week, until one night, as Erin and I sat in the living room, a low hum filled the air, a sound that seemed to resonate from the depths of the wine cabinet. We exchanged a glance, our unease palpable. "Did you hear that?" Erin asked, her voice a mixture of curiosity and fear. I nodded, my heart racing as the sound intensified. "It's coming from the cabinet," I replied, a sense of foreboding settling over me. As we approached the cabinet, the hum grew louder, reverberating through the room. The cabinet's doors trembled, and the strange inscriptions seemed to writhe with a life of their own. Before our eyes, the carvings shifted and rearranged, forming new patterns that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. "Lee, what's happening?" Erin's voice was laced with fear as she clung to my arm. I shook my head, my mind racing for an explanation. "I don't know, but we have to do something before it's too late." "Why didn't we just give the box to the rabbi?" said Erin. "Because Rabbi Cohen said there was no need, because the incantation was to banish it from our home and back to wherever it is it came from," I said. With a sense of urgency, we reached out to Rabbi Cohen once more. His arrival was swift. His expression was a mixture of concern and determination. Together, we stood before the cabinet, our voices united in a chant that carried the weight of our collective will. The hum grew in intensity, a cacophony of sound that seemed to defy the boundaries of the physical world. The room trembled, and the cabinet seemed to emit a blinding light, its brilliance searing through the darkness that had once held it captive. As the ritual reached its climax, a deafening roar filled the air, a sound that seemed to emanate from the very depths of the cabinet. The inscriptions glowed with an ethereal light, and a vortex of energy spiraled outward, threatening to consume us all. I couldn't breathe, as if I were being choked by the entity. It was trying to kill me. "No!" Rabbi Cohen's voice rang out, his words a battle cry against the Dybbuk's last stand. "You will not prevail." With a final surge of energy, our combined efforts pushed back against the demon's onslaught. The cabinet's doors slammed shut. The patterns began to fade into nothingness. The room was left in silence. But a part of me wasn't so optimistic, fearing it would rear its ugly head once again. But the presence seemed to dissipate, its power shattered by the strength of our determination. Breathing heavily, we exchanged weary glances, the weight of our efforts settling upon us. "Is it over?" Erin asked, her voice a mixture of hope and uncertainty. Rabbi Cohen nodded, a sense of solemn satisfaction in his gaze. "For now it is," he replied, his words carrying the weight of a hard-won victory. The lingering remnants of the Dybbuk's influence continued to fade. The shadows that had once danced in my peripheral now held no power, and the knocks and threes remained a distant memory. Our home felt lighter, the atmosphere infused with a renewed sense of tranquility. Rabbi Cohen offered this time to take the box off our hands, to secure it in a blessed containment so it could never escape again. We gladly accepted his offer. Erin rushed to hug Rabbi Cohen as she smiled at him, her eyes shining with pride. "We faced the darkness head-on and emerged stronger," she replied, as she stepped away from him to hold my hand. As we looked back on the trials we had endured, I couldn't help but reflect on the power of love, friendship, and unwavering determination. The evil spirit had tested us in ways we could never have imagined, but it had also forged an unbreakable bond between us. In the weeks that followed, life returned to a semblance of normalcy. The scars of our ordeal remained, etched both physically and emotionally, but they served as a reminder of the strength we had found within ourselves. Our story wasn't one of triumph over evil, but rather a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of the unknown. The evil had been contained, its power weakened, but we knew that it could never truly be eradicated. And so we remained vigilant, our home forever intertwined with the forces that had once sought to consume us. And so our lives continued, forever marked by the Dybbuk's touch, yet also forever strengthened by the bonds of love and friendship that had seen us through the darkest of nights. As we faced the uncertain path ahead, we did so with the knowledge that we were not alone, that the power of the human spirit would always shine through, even in the face of the most malevolent of forces. I'm Mr.Night-Terror, your host, and I thank you for watching and experiencing this story with me. Remember to like and subscribe to my channel, as I will be narrating many more scary stories in the upcoming days. If you have an idea of a story you would like me to narrate, please leave a request and description in the comments. And as always, stay scared, my friends.